Crypto has gone through cycles, and when you have risk on, people are excited. They are, now you have kind of a risk off moment. There's uncertainty. I personally will echo some of the things Richard said. There are so many macro factors that are continuing to provide tailwinds for this industry that I think as we go into 2026, I don't remember being this optimistic in the last handful of years, where you do have, as Richard said, regulatory clarity in the largest economy in the world. And I think people underprice this.
What we've been accurately talking about in this community, being one of the only communities that actually tracks these things, and that is the day-to-day sentiment in terms of risk on, risk off. Brad Garlinghouse himself specifically talking about and using the terminologies that we use: risk off, uncertainty. So in today's video, I know that this was a pop-up call, but what I want to do is I want to first start by lightening the mood a little bit and play thoroughly through some of these video clips from this panel discussion that involved Brad Garlinghouse. The name escapes me. I know she's the president of the Solana Foundation. I think her name's Lily Liu or something. Her name's Lily Liu. And then obviously, of course, the CEO, Richard Tang of Binance. And this is posted from 2 days ago from the Crypto Futures in 2026 summit that took place from Binance. Shout out to the researchers for this one. And this is going to just lead us into our discussion about the fundamental backdrop today because of something that Brad Garlinghouse mentions, something that we've been talking about quite heavily in the private CYPRX community, which is the risk-off backdrop, the market uncertainty that is currently lingering. And we've been called crazy. We've been saying that if the yen carry trade unwinds, that it's likely going to be net negative for risk assets. And Brad Garlinghouse himself, for the XRP enthusiasts out there, is literally sitting on stage here talking about the current market environment and how he specifically mentions it's risk off. So we're going to dabble into this, and then in part two, once we're done that, going through some video clips to kind of lift the mood, because they say some very positive things, that it's going to be short-term pain until the uncertain environment is behind us. But once that is, none of the tailwinds, none of the bullish fundamentals in crypto have been priced in yet. And we still have yet to experience that, coupled with regulatory clarity and institutions coming in with full clarity for the first time in history. Something specifically that this gentleman mentions also is how we are still only at 8% of global crypto adoption, very early days. So I'll play all that for you guys, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty. We'll discuss and we will talk about the fundamental backdrop, why crypto shed $97 billion. We'll do a quick technical analysis update on XRP before we head into the weekend. We will read thoroughly through today's fundamental report so you guys understand the sentiment, understand what we're paying attention to next week. Update you all on the levels, taking a look at the deltas. And then I want to get into a theory that one of you all just recently typed out in the premium general chat, because I wholeheartedly believe that this is exactly what is taking place. And then we'll take a look at just some recent fundamentals that coexist with this theory, how it's super bullish for the underlying digital asset, but there's no positive price action at all. And it's not just one digital asset that we'll take a look at. We'll also take a look at a second, just so that way, two is better than one, three is better than two, so on and so forth. And I don't want to drag this video out for too long, but there is literally almost every single ETF launch out there for any digital asset is tanking. And most of them are making new all-time lows, like XLR, Aptos. But all supportive fundamentals, bullish for the underlying asset, have happened over the past consecutive couple of months, which just align with this theory that Yavo mentioned just recently in the chat. So that is how we'll end the call. All right. So pretty lengthy call here. I'd say about an hour of your time. If you guys want to spend it with me, that's what we'll be discussing. I'll chop it up into 3 parts. Starting off here to just lift the sentiment a little bit, lift the tone, because wow, people are getting scared left and right about the digital asset ecosystem. And I truly believe once we full circle to this theory that Yavo had posted in the chat, it makes so much sense logically. cause as much pain as possible. Do we really think that the institutions that aren't even here yet, we're going to buy at a premium? Most likely not. They're going to shake out the over leveraged retail traders, drop all of the altcoins before they get in on their ETFs at pennies on the dollar, and then pump the freaking market to Valhalla once retail has experienced mass pain. So take a second and listen to Brad Garlinghouse himself from the Crypto Futures in 2026. I believe this is a Binance summit that just recently took place. This is on the Binance YouTube from 2 days ago. And let me know, give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear what Brad says here. But this is going to set the tone for our discussion and what we've been accurately talking about in this community, being one of the only communities that actually tracks these things. And that is the day-to-day sentiment in terms of risk on, risk off. Brad Garlinghouse himself specifically talking about and using the terminologies that we use: risk off, uncertainty, tailwinds, headwinds, so on and so forth. So just somebody give me a thumbs up as I play this and let me know if you all can hear this.
Look, I think crypto has gone through cycles. And when you have risk on, people are excited. There are, now you have kind of a risk off moment. There's uncertainty. I personally will echo some of the things Richard said. There are so many macro factors that are continuing to provide tailwinds for this industry that I think as we go into 2026, I don't remember being this optimistic in the last handful of years, where you do have, as Richard said, regulatory clarity in the largest economy in the world. And I think people underprice this. 22% of global GDP is the United States. And this is a market that has been really openly hostile to crypto for 4 or 5 years, or maybe longer. And now you have that has changed significantly pretty quickly, but the institutions are still catching up with that to some degree. You saw Franklin Templeton on stage here, you saw BlackRock on stage. Just this week, I think Vanguard has now opened up, Vanguard historically has said, we won't touch crypto. And now they've had a massive sea change. That's just one of many things that are creating those tailwinds. And so I'm super optimistic about the year ahead. The last thing I'll say on this, which I think we'll also probably all agree about on this, is we are also seeing real world applications.
So I'll pause it right there, right? I just wanted, in general, the XRP community to hear Brad Garlinghouse himself talk about how the current environment is risk off, right? So you have all these people speculating on high-end prices, but here you have the freaking CEO of Ripple talking about how, yeah, crypto's down right now because of the current macro environment being risk off. And that is exactly what we cover in the private CYPRX community, but get called crazy from the outside XRP Maxi Army community. And it's just insane because the information is there. The information is there for the world to see, but nobody, for some odd reason, wants to tap into it. So I thought that I'd share that one because that, again, goes hand in hand with the current environment, why XRP is not mooning right now, and da 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 da. And it is, again, because crypto is one of the riskiest asset classes, and there is a heavy demand right now for safe haven and not risk, right? So in a nutshell, next one, this one is from roughly about 9 minutes and 50 seconds, where they talk about how institutions will start off very small and then scale in over time. So again, just painting a realistic perspective, understanding that we haven't even experienced this, what they're specifically talking about yet. Institutions onboarding and then scaling in over time. Take a second here and listen to this next clip.
From our Ripple Prime, the prime brokerage business, we see a lot of interesting activity where institutions that have been on the sidelines, maybe because of regulatory clarity, maybe because of risk aversion, for whatever reasons they've been on the sidelines, they're getting involved. And they're starting small, and they're going to walk, then they're going to crawl, then they're going to walk, then they're going to run. And I think it's going to create a lot of tailwind.
So this moment in the market.
So I just wanted you to hear that brief statement right there, because again, we're in this environment where there's a lot of uncertainty. People are wondering if prices are going to go lower, this, and that. I would not bet against the long-term outcome of a recovery in crypto. That's my personal opinion. I'm going to go out right and say that in 5 years from now, you're not going to be the one or want to be the type of person, the retail investor that was like, I held crypto in, 2025. I sold because of fear and wasn't able to get back in aggressively where I wanted to because institutions came in. And like what I'm trying to get to say is here, the window to front run institutions is running out, bottom line. And we've already done that. Now, we here in this community painted a realistic picture that that wasn't going to be an easy ride to the top. And here we are in that very moment. So just understand that I still firmly believe that we are still front running institutions. They weren't going to make this easy like everybody on YouTube made it out to be $100, $1,000 price predictions. Well, the reason why it's so painful for all these people right now, and let me just be very blunt, is because they don't know how to buy in properly. Even just the other day, the positions that I had taken at $1.90 on XRP are still slightly in profit, not by a huge margin, but they're in profit. So collectively, and then in total, most of my XRP is all in profit. So yeah, this pullback is, don't get me wrong, not fun by any means, but it's not really that painful if you know how to be a proper market participant. You know when to buy. You know that you shouldn't be buying on days when the market's up 100, 200, 300 billion dollars. Why? Because it messes up your risk to reward ratio. And that is something that we preach and talk about in the private CYPRX community. So if over the past 3 years that I've been building my 7-figure portfolio, you guys have followed my DCA positions to the T, which some of you have in this community, you all know for a fact we're all sitting in most of our positions still in profit. Like our H bar positions at 4 cents are still in profit, not by a huge margin, but by enough to not feel like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. Yeah, it's definitely bad, but it's not that bad. Our XRP positions at sub 50 cents, all in profit. Our soy positions, sub 50 cents, all in profit, and so on and so forth. The list could continue to carry on, right? Now, it's not to boast or brag or anything like that. It's just to show that when you understand when to buy, when not to buy, when to sit on your hands, and how to track these things over an extended period of time, these market cycles are seen as opportunities instead of how everybody else sees them as some fear-mongering event that, shakes most people out mentally because they're unprepared. So next, here they go on to talk about how we are only at 8% global crypto market adoption. So what I'm trying to get you guys to see is number one, Brad Garlinghouse mentioned risk off uncertainty. When those tailwinds are behind us, we've never really seen an environment in crypto where we don't have any macro headwinds. And at the same time, the biggest jurisdiction on the face of this planet in terms of financial status has the regulatory clarity. And he specifically says these institutions will start small and then they will scale in. You don't want to be here after that. You also don't want to be here after. You guys are going to hear this gentleman here from Binance say we're at 8% adoption. You don't want to get in after those numbers skyrocket to 15, 20%, 30%. Could you imagine in the future, right, what the gains are going to look like, or the asymmetric returns are going to look like when you're getting into crypto and 50% of the population already owns it? I couldn't imagine, because it's not going to be when 8% of the population owned it. That is for damn sure, right? So I'm just trying to get you guys to see, again, to lift the tone, that there's still optimism to be had, even though we're in a short-term painful environment. Take a second and listen.
With the ETFs coming through, and with financial institutions all starting to embrace and support that. On our platform, we saw doubling of institutional onboarding last year, and again doubling of this year, right? So they are still coming through in a big way. But as you know, for institutions, corporates, family office, they take a long time to do their own due diligence. The onboarding process is much longer. So they'll come, but it's not going to be all together at one point in time. We're still very early in the process. We're about 8% global crypto adoption. We're still very early in the process. We're about 8% global crypto adoption. It's just a matter of time. They're all going through their own deliberation at this point in time, and they'll be coming on board on that front. So we're.
So that was just yet another positive tone lifting comment from a recent Binance summit. Last but not least, it's very hard to come across content that, sparks the average person's thought process. But I know in my personal family bloodline, I have a lot of people who deny that there is a rewiring of the financial system happening, and they need to hear physical proof. And so I timestamped 22 minutes into this panel discussion because they specifically mention that we're in the process of rewiring and restructuring the entire financial system. And so this would just be one of those 30-second clips where you could show this at a family get together and be like, hey, look, like these people of these companies that are rebuilding the financial system just spoke on a panel discussion a week ago. And here they are, Ma, telling you that they're restructuring the financial system. So you should probably pay attention. I know I share with my family, specifically like my dad, who I got into crypto last year, so on and so forth, these videos, and it helps them understand, not from just reading Bloomberg or Reuters articles or this, and that, like we do, following Twitter and, maybe some of you guys follow other influencers. Well, the older generation doesn't really do that. They need somebody from traditional finance with a suit and tie sitting on a panel discussion with gray hairs to tell them, hey, look, things are changing. And if you don't react or transition, you're going to get left behind. And so these videos are just really good for that confidence boost. If you ever want to show a family member, like, hey, they are for a fact talking about this stuff on stage. I'm not a crazy person. Here's the proof. Okay. So I just thought that I'd play this one as the last ending clip to this little tiny segment at the Binance Summit that just recently took place.
The utility and really the assets and liquidity of 5.5 billion people is interesting and useful.
And it's interesting as well because we talk about this on CNBC all the time, but we're essentially seeing the rewiring, the replumbing of the global financial system in real time, and each of your businesses has a role to play in that as well. Richard, I wanted to come back over to you because under your leadership, we've also
right. So it's nothing crazy. It's just a straightforward comment. We are seeing in real time a rewiring, a restructuring of the global financial plumbing, and each of your businesses are playing a role. And you have Solana, Binance, and Ripple sitting on stage, right? So that's it for this panel discussion. Great watch, great share by the CYPRX researchers. Make sure that you guys are going through the CYPRX research channel over the weekends in your free time and watching some of these panels. They are powerful. And there's hundreds, if not thousands of them, thousands of videos that nobody's watched, nobody on the internet is taking a look at, and very useful and good information inside of them.